how social media could be sabotaging your success and actually making you antisocial. Today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast. That was a mouthful right there. How social media could be sabotaging your success and actually making you antisocial. What do you think about that little opening there? We got a lot of things here we're going to cover. We're going to be talking about social media today and the positives. It's like a tool. It's like a hammer. You know, hammers have been used in grisly murder scenes. Hammers can also be used to build a house. It's a tool. It's a tool to be used for good that could be turned and used for bad. But we wanted to cover social media because the whole basis of this podcast is we're trying to help you to be everything that you can be in all areas of your life and to perform, to optimally perform in these different areas. Social media is one of those things that it's a given now. It's something that's just a part of our everyday lives. But we wanted to come to and give some warnings, talk about some things that some very negative things that this is causing. One of the dangers is we're not far enough along in the life of social media to really have a lot of long-term data on really the damages that it has caused to mental health, to our social structure, different things. But also talk about what are the positive things? What are the things that could be positive about it? So we wanted to open this treasure chest of social media and talk about that. So got Jed Blackwell over there making this thing happen, making us sound like we have any idea what we're talking about and sounding professional. And we got the good coach, Katie Malone, over there. And she is ready to dive in and talk about social media. So what are your initial thoughts on this whole big thing that has been widely debated? And if you just Google social media effects, you will find a million different things, good and bad, with that. But let's hear from you. We haven't even had this discussion, so this is brand new dialogue that's going to happen here.
This is actually a great one to talk about, and no, we have not had this conversation offline, so what we say here is going to be new for both of us because we just haven't even, sometimes we discuss things ahead of time, but not this one. So social media, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I am going to start off today with how dangerous it can be and kind of the rabbit hole you can go down with social media. And I'm going to tell you a story about what happened yesterday. So yesterday I was sitting in my car and I needed to respond to a message on Facebook. So I jumped on Facebook to answer the message because I had left it unanswered for too long because I've been driving around running errands. So I answered it. And then right after I did that, I saw where somebody else had tagged somebody else in a message. And so then I clicked on it because, you know, like that's what you do, right? I was like, oh, who is that? I'm like, she looks kind of familiar. And then it took me on to Instagram from there. And I don't usually get on Instagram very often, not because I don't like it, but just because I don't. So I get on Instagram and a lot of people that I have blocked on Facebook, and I have them blocked for a reason that I'll get into, they show up on my Instagram feed because I'm never on it. I haven't blocked them or I follow them or whatever at some point. And so I started looking at what they'd been doing. And 20 minutes later, I am still sitting in the car in my driveway. I have a lot to do. I do not have 20 minutes to be sitting in my driveway looking at these things these other people have accomplished. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I am such a loser. I haven't accomplished like half this stuff. Oh my gosh.
Killing life over there.
That's stuff that like I wanted to do and they're out there doing it. And oh my gosh. And you know what? I'm just not good enough. I'm just not smart enough. I'm stupid. I'm sitting here in my car. I should be working. I shouldn't be looking at this. Why am I looking at this? So I keep looking at it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, what's wrong with me? So this is real. This is me. And like, I feel like in general, I've accomplished a lot in my life and I'm fairly intelligent, but yet I sat there for probably 30 minutes, truth be told, yesterday and got sucked into that rabbit hole. Now, that was not healthy. That was not good. And I went in the house and I'm like, what was I doing? Why did I let that happen? What does it matter what these other people did? It doesn't matter at all for my life. But yet it really got to me and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm like, well, I just need to block them. That's why I have lots of people blocked on Facebook so that I can't have those feelings of inadequacy. So that's my real story.
So in this real story, how much of, so when you're looking, when you're, this is what happens. We see something and it's this great picture of someone's kids doing an all-star type thing. You know, perfect. And then you click on their little timeline and you start scrolling through it and it's like, oh, look, well, there the kid is making straight A's. There it is being the all-star athlete. There it is just being out feeding the poor.
Of course.
Here's another picture of them at church being the whatever. And then it's like, gosh, man, those people are just the best parents.
Yeah.
They've got the best kid. And man, I just slammed the door and yelled at my kid, and my kid's upstairs and got its phone, got their phone sitting in the bed. So I'm just, like I said, man, I'm just a loser as a parent. And my kids, they're never going to make it in this world because they're not. And then you step back for a second and say, well, wait a minute. What are the things I put on social media about my kids? And how many people are sitting at home thinking, oh, that's the perfect kid. Oh man, it's this. How much of that stuff do you think you were looking at yesterday? Was that just the highlight reel of their life that you were looking at?
It was called marketing. It's what anyone who has a business does on Facebook. It's used for marketing.
Yep.
And marketing is a business and Facebook is used for business. I took what was used for business and manipulated it into some crazy story in my head about reality.
Yeah, and then you took it as a personal indictment on you and your success and you as a person.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that, so I'm like, if I'm doing this, and I like to think that mentally I have a lot of good skills because I practice mental training a lot. And I'm like, if I am doing this and it's this bad and I know it, what do other people do?
So it's business marketing.
Yes.
Now, but the individuals not do the same thing.
Yes. Everybody's their own brand now.
You're marketing yourself out there into the thing too. Okay, I am, and for most people it is, I've got these hurts, I've got these things, these inadequacies, I've got these self-esteem, I've got all these different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to counteract that by projecting out into the world that everything is okay and everything's great. And then the person right down the street does the same thing. And then what happens is social media becomes the highlight reel of everybody's life. I mean, how many people are getting on social media and just talking about how mad they are at their kid. And you know what? My kid did this horrible thing today and I'm nobody in our house is talking to each other.
And of course not. Nobody wants to share that. I mean, of course you do have a random couple of people on Facebook who do share that stuff. And I'm usually probably not following them either. But, in general, I think Facebook can be really nice because you can share good stuff and have people be excited for you. And share things that are good and encouraging. Facebook can be used in a way that helps you on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I have a lot of really encouraging pages that I follow and stuff that I share just to kind of pump you up and make you feel good. I share a lot about dogs because I love dogs. And it gets like lots of dogs that need homes, and people see that on my page and I'm able to find dogs homes. And so like, I feel like that's great use of it. But again, it's supporting what I want. You know, I want to find these dogs homes. And so I think there are like lots of different ways that social media can be used, but I do feel like it does not necessarily always contribute to our mental well-being.
I 100% agree with that.
And how much time do you spend on it? I mean, like, so I'm asking you, Kevin, how much time do you spend on Facebook?
Well, I'll say this, that about 10 days ago, I really looked at that. And again, this is going to recover this at a different part when we start talking about this 5-year plan of where do I want to be in 5 years?
Not on Facebook.
And then where was I 5 years ago, and how big of a difference is there in my life from 5 years ago to now? And if there's not that big of a difference in some of those areas, or if I've actually gotten worse in some of those areas, what are some of the contributing factors? And number one contributing factor to why I was not further along than I wanted to be was the amount of wasted time that I've got. Now, most people would say, I mean, everywhere I go, I hear, gosh, you're just so busy. You got so many things going on, so many irons in the fire. You do so much. I don't see how you do all this, blah, 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 blah. So they would say, well, you got no like margin in your life. There's no wasted time. There's nothing. And I was like, no. They're actually, how many times have I sat at my desk and I'm working on something, and the weird thing is, here's the hard thing about it. The hard thing about social media, it's no different than people with food addictions. The problem with, if you've got a cocaine addiction, it's not easy to break, but it's relatively easy to go through life and not be exposed to cocaine. If you got a food addiction, you got to eat. You've got to eat. And so it's hard. You're always going to be exposed to that thing that can kind of trigger you. With social media, I use social media. It's a huge part. I mean, Jed, who's producing this, he oversees all of our social media and the different things that we've got going on. And one of the things they've told me is, look, anytime not with my Harrison's social media, but with my Kevin Harrison personal social, anytime I interact with stuff, share it, do things with it,
it does better.
It pops. It like shoots it up. So there's times I'll go on, okay, they did this. This will be a good thing to share. And then, okay, well, I shared, oh, what? Well, so-and-so's doing this. And so-and-so, 20 minutes later, I've gone down like this rabbit hole, and I'm watching a video of, a dog, a dog that's barking at a mule, and the mule is doing it, and I'm sitting there laughing, and I'm like, what just happened? Right. What just happened?
And what was I doing?
Yeah, I don't even remember what I was doing, and now I've lost this time. And so I would say, because I put some boundaries on some things of when, what time of day, what I've got now. There's some things have to happen in the morning before I can look at email, before I can look at social media, before I can do anything. There are some things that have to happen. And then I've set a hard time of when no more screens come into my head. I would venture to say I would be on, gosh, 2.5 hours a day. Yeah. And it would be, I would catch myself. You pull up to a red light, stop, pull out your phone.
Yep.
And kind of you're just kind of, I mean, you can't see me right now, but my eyes are just kind of glazed over, and I'm just like scrolling with my thumb of just what's going on. Oh, there's somebody else. This life's just great. There's somebody else. This life's just great. Why isn't my life as great as that? And you get on, but yeah, 2.5 hours, easy. How about you?
Probably the same.
Yeah.
When I had there was one thing that would show you how many hours you were on every day, and it was across all platforms, like your phone would do that. The other thing your phone will show you is how many times you picked up your phone a day. You want disturbing numbers? There it is.
Yeah.
At that point, I started leaving my phone elsewhere. Like, I would not bring my phone to my desk.
Yeah. Well, all right, Jed. You jump into this, and you're a media guy.
Yeah, I've got a little bit different experience. Facebook has never been my problem. I do see how Facebook could be a problem. Facebook is one of those things I can scroll through and kind of leave alone, and it is a good place to connect with folks from the past and folks you don't normally see.
It is.
I'll tell you this: if it's your birthday and I possess the ability to contact you in any other capacity, you'll never see a Facebook happy birthday from me. Because I don't, it's mindless. You're not thinking about that person. Your notifications prompt you to do that, so you do it. No, I'm not doing that. Where my experience is a little bit different is, not to pat myself on the back, I was for a period of time the voice regarding high school athletics in this area. I was the guy.
Yeah.
I think you still are.
Well, I appreciate that. I was verified on Twitter. I had the blue check mark before you could pay $8 for one. When you had to be about something to get one.
Wow.
I don't have it now because I'm not paying him $8. But back then, I was verified, and the instant I got verified, within 5 minutes of being verified, I had some pretty famous followers. Kevin Nash, the wrestler, was. I guess I'd followed him at some point. And maybe he's scrolling through and seeing who's verified that follows him and following back. That doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of a ego stroke a little bit. But I would lose hours at a time on Twitter, and I still lose hours at a time during events that I'm covering. Now, it's a vital tool for talking with people and going back and forth, but again, it's mindless. Why are we doing that? I told somebody, one of the last school groups I spoke to when I was still full-time in journalism, they asked me how the world had changed so much. And I am used to stay up all night laying out pages on a light table years old. That doesn't mean anything to anybody, but that was way before computer pagination was the standard. And my answer was, aside from all the technological advances, social media. There used to be these things called exclusives. You'd tell me something, and I'm the only one that would know it, and I could sit on it for a couple of days and flesh it out and put something really good together about it and have an exclusive story that nobody else was going to have, and it would be well thought out, and we could get every message out at one time. And now you better tweet it because somebody's going to. You got about 10 minutes.
Wow.
So I think the question becomes, and we're going to cover some more of the dangers and some of the good things, but I think if we brought any adult into this room, they would say they feel like social media is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone would.
Yeah.
Okay. So
because it is.
it is a problem. But,
I mean, we use it, but it is also, I think it's great in many ways, like for connections, but it is one of our biggest problems that we face today.
Yeah. So how do we help people, including ourselves, use this tool without taking a hammer and smashing it over their head like we tend to do daily? I think that's the $1 million question.
I think number one is recognizing that you're doing it when you're doing it. And I mean, even like yesterday happened, even though I have put in place all sorts of limits on my social media so that I'm not doing what I did yesterday. But yesterday I overrode it all because, I wanted to write back to a message. And so then all of a sudden I was in it and I could continue on, even though it gave me the, hey, you've been on here 15 minutes, get off. Yeah. And I was like, nope, let me keep going, because I was totally behaving like an addict. But I think first recognizing that you're doing it. Next, putting kind of like, you can put blocks on your Facebook. You can make it so you can only look at it in certain hours or only for a certain amount of time. I think, and also like taking your phone and putting it away from you when you're working. And I realize that a lot of times when you're working, you need to have your phone, which I do too. But if I'm trying to work on something specific, my phone needs to go in another room where I can't pick it up, just because it's gotten to be such a habit to just pick it up and look. It's so easy.
You reach for it. And for some of you may be listening to this as you're driving. Okay, you may be driving and listening to this. I want you to pay attention to yourself when you come to a stoplight or a stop sign. And I want you to see if you automatically, not thinking, hey, I want to see what's going on Facebook. I want to check Twitter. I want to look at Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be. See if your hand automatically goes down to pick it up and look and see what, again, just these mindless things.
But it's getting out of those habits, and you have to, in order to break a habit, it's kind of painful. You know, like there's a time between when you're like, uh-oh, I have a problem, and how am I going to deal with this? And between like, oh, okay, I've got it under control. I'm good now. And I used to always take my phone with me when I was walking the dogs. And I'd like plan out my day. I'd look at my calendar. I'd respond to some text messages while I'm walking the dogs in the woods trying to relax. And I'm like, why am I doing that? And then I might even look at some social media. And so I just kind of cut that out. I'm not doing that anymore. Like, my time in the woods is my time in the woods, and it's my time to relax. And that has helped me have a little bit more clarity. And that way I can formulate in my mind my top 3 things for the day that I need to get done and kind of focus on those versus getting lost in what I was looking at on the phone. But I think really it starts with, for everybody, putting it down too, like getting it away from you, having time without it. Also, like when you're with your family, how many families do you see when you go out to dinner and everybody's got the phone in their hand and they're not talking to each other? Oh, I mean, like that is, if I look at my own family and we have phones in the hand, but you know, I'm kind of grateful my son got in trouble and he doesn't have his phone now. And I hit it really good this time. I think I remember where it is.
Yeah.
It's with the elf. The elf, I don't know where the elf is, but the phone, I know where it is. So the phone is now gone. And so I am in the habit now of putting my phone down so that we're present with each other and we're talking to each other. In the car, because he doesn't have a phone, we are communicating like normal people again. And I feel really good about that. Like I feel kind of empowered that we have reached that point. But when I took the phone away, he was really mad. And it did not go well for a few days because he was so addicted. It was like
an addictive behavior, and almost whenever we have to take away a phone. I mean, it's like a fly to a light. I mean, they are just that. I've got to have my phone back. I've got to text my friend. You just don't understand all this stuff's going on out there, and I've got to. I mean, it's just this just almost manic state that they're in because of the addiction to just looking at it, scrolling on the phone. But you're right that whenever a little bit of time, and it's like with when you see, like if kids have a party and if there's 6 or 7 girls at our house or something, it's amazing. I walk down to the basement and like there's, you know, the TV's on or whatever. And they'll be laughing and stuff a little bit. But then for the most part, they've all got their phones and they're looking at stuff. And one of them will laugh. And it's something that they just posted together and sent. And then they saw it online. And they're literally in the same room.
Right.
But they're on social media doing it. And it's like my fear is we're all just being so desensitized to real social interactions of, can you really get in a room and converse with people?
Well, we are, and we're also losing that ability to hold conversations and not have the phone out. And so, I mean, I'm really paying attention to it now because of my kind of experience with it. And, you know, when I look back, like when did it get this bad? Like, I mean, it didn't just happen overnight, but I do feel like a lot of it when we went through COVID and we were all so isolated, it made us more dependent on the phone for what other people were doing, our social interaction, than it ever has. I mean, I looked at it some before that, but never like once we got into COVID, because COVID was so isolating. But we've never come out of this whole COVID thing, I don't think.
We haven't. And we've also, the main problem is nobody realizes what Facebook's product is. Do you know what Facebook's product is?
No.
You.
Oh.
You are Facebook's product.
Oh.
They are serving you to their advertisers.
Wow.
You're the product. I'm the product. Kevin's the product.
Wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. They don't perform another service. They're making money. Why? Do they charge?
No.
They don't charge a thing.
But your phone is listening to you, and all of a sudden you get all these advertisements that are directed. Like, whatever I say, It is amazing. It pops up on Facebook. And I'm like, wow, that's really creepy, because I've never thought about that until just yesterday when I said something.
Because your likes and dislikes and habits and patterns of behavior are the product.
Are being tracked.
Yep. You're the product.
So, well, that's even more disturbing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now I really, I'm just like, okay, I just don't want to carry my phone anymore at all.
Well, and part of the reason Jed knows this, because part of his responsibility,
right?
He handles this for us, for our business, and you can target people based off of just, hey, what do they like? What stores have they been in? What have
I can't. Beth can cause you to see an ad for us because you've walked in a store that sells some of the same items that we do with your phone on.
Wow. But see, I've been in here and I haven't seen any of your ads, and I love boots.
We don't target people who come in here.
Oh, okay.
We target people who don't come in.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
We target people who are going to competitors.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. But so, I mean, like, it can be used as a tool for sure.
Absolutely
and it is a marketing tool, like I said before. But I think that, as Kevin mentioned, we have no idea what this is doing to us as a whole. But I can assure you there is going to be some serious damage done to the generation that is growing up with this. And, I was just thinking about it. The three of us are all about the same age. And we have seen, we've seen computers when we didn't even really have computers in college. I mean, that was just when computers were kind of getting going, all the way through now to where we can't live without our phones.
I was just talking the other night about that. In my keyboarding class in high school, I took keyboarding as a senior, and we had 4 computers in that class. You had to rotate to them throughout your time in the class. Everything else was I think it was an old.
You had a real typewriter.
I can't even remember the brand name of the typewriter, but yeah, we had word processors basically, and there were 4 computers in there. And now, like you said, there's no need for an encyclopedia because you have the wealth of human knowledge in the palm of your hand. I can't imagine my most foolish high school moments being able to be instantly recorded.
Oh boy.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, it is, I serve on our school board. And so I keep up with all the education trends and different things. And I was at a conference and a guy, and he was an Ivy League professor. Mm-hmm. And so he made this comment, and it made a lot of sense. He said, he said if universities and colleges don't change their paradigm, then we will be obsolete by the next generation. And he said, here's where we've got to change it. He pulled out his iPhone. He said, universities and colleges used to be the places that you would go to receive education and knowledge. Pulled it out, and he said, every piece of knowledge and education in the entire universe is right here.
Right.
It's a click away. He said, what we've got to become is we have to start teaching people how do you interact with that knowledge. and data, and not the place where you come and take it. And so it has changed things. I think it's the technology has changed things for the better in a lot of ways. Gosh, who remembers the Encyclopedia Britannicas?
Right.
You look those up, and that's where you got your information. I mean, literally.
That was the only place to get comprehensive information.
That was it. And now you can Google, what's the biggest river in Canada? I mean, I don't know that, but I can tell you in about 30 seconds just by looking that up. So there's a lot of good things about it. It's not one of those things that let's throw the baby out with the bathwater, but how do we take technology and make it a part of life? And I think, our last podcast, we talked about developing, I think 2 podcasts ago, we talked about developing a morning routine and getting control of our mornings and those kind of things. I would think, I think this will play out. Again, I'm no doctor, no anything, have no data to prove this. I would almost guarantee you that the biggest damage emotionally and mentally that we're getting from social media happens the very first thing in the morning and the very last thing at night. Because I would say probably most people, the very first thing they do, I got in this habit, very first thing they do, alarm would go off, they get up, they pull up their social media and start scrolling around and looking at stuff. And immediately they're starting themselves in that spot of, gosh, man, Jed's life is awesome. He's just killing it. And man, his business doing so good. Gosh, look at what's going on over there. I mean, their marriage is perfect. Gosh, look at that. Man, that kid he's just an all-star. Man, another day over here just fighting this battle that I'm in. And then last thing you're doing, you're sitting in your bed and you're just looking at a screen, which is bad for you anyway, just looking at a screen, but you're just scrolling through that screen, just mindlessly looking at these things.
And when you're tired, it's easier just to keep going.
Yeah, and then you just kind of almost pass out. Last thing you're doing is on that phone, and then you wake up in the morning and it all starts over again. I would almost guarantee that those two periods of time are that. So I think if those are, how do we control those times? I got an answer.
Put your phone away. What do you think?
What do y'all think?
Yeah, put it down.
I've done that about 10 days ago. Well, when you're listening to this, it'll be hopefully I'll almost be a month and a half into this.
How do you feel?
Gosh, I feel 1,000 times better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mental. It's hard to explain. You hear people talking about nootropics and all these things that are supposed to make you think clear and that. But I started something in the morning to where I get up in the morning and I've got about 5 things I have to do before I can look. My text messages come through, and anybody who would have something that is a high, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way. There's a lot of people listening to this podcast that know me and have ways of contacting me. Anybody who really is something that should move my needle of something that I need to respond to, they got my cell phone number, and they'll text me or call me. Right. If I see somebody calling me and then a text comes through and then a call comes through again, I'm looking like, okay, something's a little bit sideways here. Obviously, with my immediate family, they're gonna get answers, but I'm not going to open my email and I'm not going to look at any social media until these things happen. And after those things happen is then when, because once I start down that road, then of even email and all the social media, all that stuff, it's hard to turn that off. And then I've got a hard 9 o'clock is the time that none of that other stuff's coming into my mind. I'm not prescribing that to anybody. I'm just saying that's help. It has helped me already.
I'm going to tell you how to be a little bit more helpful if you've got an iPhone. I don't know about an Android. I don't know if it can do it or not. Maybe it can. I don't know. iPhone's got an emergency bypass on it. My parents are 75 years old. I have them on emergency bypass. Bonnie, my wife, is on emergency bypass. My sister, and whoever's keeping my dog at the moment, I toggle them on and off of emergency bypass.
They're number
There you go.
one.
I keep my phone on silent. It won't ring. It won't ring. Emergency bypass will. They can get me if they need me.
Yeah.
I have people all the time. Oh, I'm sorry to text you so late. I'm sorry to text you so early. And when I see it, I'm like, you're not bothering me at all because it didn't ring.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
That is the best thing Apple has ever done, in my opinion.
I
is
do
that
the
emergency
same thing.
bypass.
So, you know what's interesting? I have some people that I coach who don't do social media. I mean, they're on it, but they don't ever look at it. They don't get on it. And honestly, I am most impressed by them that they're fine. They're happy. They're good. One of my best friends does not do social media. Love her. She never is on social media. If I want her to see something, I got to send it to her. And I feel like mentally they're probably in a better place than the rest of us because they're not looking at it and they're not being fed that constant line of whatever, here, look at everybody else who's doing so well and you're not. And why do we take it that way anyway? Like why?
Well, I think we take it that way because it has become, I think it started as a way for people to network and connect with each other and do, and then it became almost it's almost like being in a race of
comparison.
Let's compare all of these things. Well, and then it's just this rabbit hole that you end up in, and everybody's feeling worse about. One of the things that I see, and this is why I love social media. I think it's got great value. I think it is a resource that
I agree.
like on Facebook, how else am I going to touch 5,000 people in the potential of 5,000 people in one post? Okay, I can post something and potentially 5,000 people are gonna see it. I think it is a great tool. I think it is a tool that we have got to get boundaries around, and I think personally in our lives we need to have a code of boundaries in our lives for this to keep it in check. It's no different than anything else. And I think people, it's very easy to look at these things with food, with alcohol, with different things of, have these things, do you have an unhealthy relationship with it? And I think you can have, like, I love, one of the things during Christmas, every year I do a Christmas movie, all-time Christmas movie poll. I love doing it. I love it. But you know why I love doing it more than anything? Because you get people, and you get friends, they'll start debating, are you crazy? There's no way Home Alone's better than Christmas Story. And I got one guy that's a friend of mine, and he's like, no matter which one I post, he replies back to it, and he says, A Wonderful Life is the best Christmas movie ever made. There is no need having a poll for any. It's this thing, and then I get to go on there, and a lot of people comment on those things that never
comment on anything.
They never comment. They never post anything personal. But I see their name come up, and it just brings up memories. Like, man, I went to school with them. That's cool, man. I'm interested to see what he said. Oh, he likes Christmas Story better than Home Alone. It's a fun thing to connect with people. Like, we're sitting around a table saying, "Hey, Jed, what's your favorite Christmas movie? What's better, Home Alone or Christmas Story? Katie, what's better, Christmas Vacation or A Wonderful Life?" Those conversations you used to have. So I think there's value there, and it can be something that does create a, somewhat of a social connection. But I think what we've lost is that next step of I'd venture to say most people have less friends now than they did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I say friends, I'm talking about real life people that you actually hang out with.
Right.
That we go eat dinner with, they come over to the house, that kind of thing. Now, you may have 5,000 Facebook friends, but how many people are you getting together with and doing stuff with?
That's why if I can get you on the phone, that's how you're getting your happy birthday from me.
Yeah.
I
that's
think,
good.
though, you make so many good points about, like, the good part of Facebook and being able to connect with people and people who you don't usually see. And it's like that part of it is really wonderful.
Yeah, it's super valuable. I have friends from the beach when I lived down there for 6 years. I don't have their phone numbers. I can't get them any other way. That's how I talk with them.
Right. And I mean, like that part is enjoyable and it's fun when you have time, that you can just enjoy, kind of kick back and hang out on Facebook for a little bit and talk to people. It's when it starts kind of disrupting your day to day. And I mean, I definitely have gone through phases where I feel like it was holding me back because I was spending too much time on it. And so now that I recognize that, I have to be really careful with it.
And it's a fight. We give the kids a hard time, but it's a fight for us.
Oh yeah.
There's been times I've literally had to force where I'll grab my phone and I'll start looking at it. I'm like, man, and I'm thinking, you need to put this down. You got stuff to do. And my thumb's going up and down now, like I'm scrolling. Kevin, you need to put this down. Put it down.
And you don't.
And it's like 20 minutes later, and you're still sitting there saying, you need to put that down. You got stuff to do.
It's like you're the alcoholic with a bottle in front of you. I mean, it really, and I hate to say it like that, but it is so addictive. And I just think the more that we're aware of it, the more that we can kind of limit it, but still use it for what it's made for. And thank you, Jed, for telling us that we're now the products of Facebook. That is so disturbing. I'm not going to stop thinking about that. But I just think that this podcast today is important for people to really take a good look at where they are with social media, how they're using it, how it's changing their life either for the good or bad. Because until you do that, you just don't know. And I don't think we're the only ones.
No, we're not the only ones. And it's like everything, do the hard work that it's going to take to really build true relationships. Pick up the phone, call somebody, text somebody. It's like, hey, man, I hadn't seen you guys in forever. What, y'all want to go get dinner? I can't tell you how many, man, everybody wants it, because you know what happens? We go to a concert, go to a program at school, we see people, hadn't seen them in a while. We say, man, we keep up on Facebook. Man, hey, we need to get together. All right, man. Hey, hit me up. After hit me up. Let's get together. We never do it. We never do it.
Do people still go to dinner with each other? Or do people have people over to their house for dinner?
We did last night. Last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't get an invitation.
It was just a couple of people.
No, but it doesn't matter, because I feel like that it's really rare that you get invited, or at least maybe it's just me. But like, I don't go to people's house normally for dinner. Like, people don't invite me over for dinner. And it's very rare that I invite people over for dinner to my house because I'm too busy.
We have a standing tailgate for Clemson football games
at
the house.
Uh-huh.
And we have a group we play trivia with once a week, some variation of 10 of us usually. It's usually 5 to 7 of the 10. And that group will have a couple, 3, 4 parties a year.
That's nice.
We did Halloween, so we're probably not going to do Christmas. I think the way Christmas fell, we're going to run out of time for everybody to get together. But we'll probably do something after the first of the year.
But I think that's healthy, and that's really nice. Yeah. And I remember, like, when I was a kid, my parents would have people over for dinner, and they would go to people's houses for dinner. And I'm like, I had a Christmas party for all of my athletes a couple weeks ago, but other than that, I couldn't tell you when I had people over for dinner just to come have dinner at my house.
Yeah, 10, 15 years ago, it happened a lot more.
Yeah, but now, now
it doesn't.
Can you remember I'm thinking right now, I think the last people that we had over, it's been years.
You know why? It's too much trouble.
Well, it is. I have to cook, and people are fussy what they eat.
You've got that. Okay, we got to clean the house. We got to do this, got to do that, blah, blah, blah. There's something that impresses me. He just said that impresses me about what Jed and I know this because I get to work with them, but on trivia, like something they do with a group of people and hang out. they like really protect that.
Yeah, it's something we do on Thursdays.
And like, it's funny sometimes, and I just kind of weird like this, but Bonnie will get and I was like, you need to text Jed and tell Jed you're gonna be late for trivia. Tell him you're not gonna be able to come to trivia. She's like, don't. It's like that's just gonna send him into a tailspin, and but they protect that. They protect that time. They plan on that. It's something that's a priority to them. They make it happen. Whereas with relationships, why do we need to have them over? Man, we keep up with them. God, I just said that. And you see me, we always say, we keep up on Facebook. Well, do you really? You really know what's going on with people?
Nope.
You don't.
Because it's just the highlight reel.
Do we really know? Have you told anybody that you're hurting, that you're going through something? Are we walking through these things with our friends, or are we just, that's the piece of the pie that you miss from that just locked arms, doing life together type of thing. And
you do. So
I got to figure that out.
I think like after you finish listening to this today, think about some ways that you can really connect with people in person again. Even though it's not something that's as frequent anymore, you have to put some effort in. But I think it's worth it. Even though scrolling can be fun, I think that it's worth putting the phone down and actually, seeing people in person and talking to them. I know in the last couple of years, I've reconnected with one of my friends from like 20 years ago. And like the fact that we run together, we have our standing run, and nothing will get in the way of our run. Like it's got to be something really important for me not to run on Wednesday morning with her. Every Wednesday we run. And it has just made our relationship that much stronger. I mean, we've always been good friends, but it's just kind of changed our relationship because we run together. But we also do other things now, more so than we ever have. And it's pretty special. And I want other people to have that too.
Yeah, well, you think about the times that you do make the time to do it. When you do get together with people and you hang out with them, do you ever come out of that feeling worse?
No.
No, not ever.
You always come out of it feeling like, man, that was fun. I enjoyed that. That was a good time, and I think we got to reclaim that. So we're not going to solve the problem today, but I think this is one that's I think we can revisit periodically of how do we walk through this, because I've got some ideas in my head of some things that I think my family needs to do to be proactive about. How do we get engaged with other groups of people in real life? Mm-hmm. In real life.
Yeah. I'm definitely like leaving this podcast going, oh, I got some work to do.
Yeah. Well, and we hope that's what you do when you're listening to these, is walking this path. And gosh, I know whenever I'm thinking about these things and we're preparing the podcast, that it is really that we're, man, it just sometimes I have to step back. It's like, man, I need to make some changes in my life on this. And so I know this is one that I put some boundaries in place already, and I think I need to even shave it more, and especially on this relationship thing of getting engaged with other people and other couples and things that we can do life together and not just quote unquote catch up on Facebook. So hopefully you're encouraged and challenged on this. A lot to digest with social media and our relationship with it. It can be a great tool, but it can also be a very harmful tool. So figure out how you're going to carry that hammer, and whatever that is. Social media, all these things that we talk about are no different than anything else. Whatever changes you need to make with social media, if you'll do those hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.